Well, that was the next thing I wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
Was this isn't Snopes necessarily. A lot of the times I see this as being people from like USA Today, and now you're talking about some Aaron professor. I mean, what is how do they choose these people? I mean,
So I actually quote an insider he posted a Daily Wire article, and I guess he used the word heritage, and he said what a lot of these people would do is they expert farm, where they will email 10 experts, and if conservatives say conservative things, they just ignore it. But if a conservative were to ever admit a fault in their own side, or be I'm a conservative, but I disagree on this conservative policy, they'll elevate those people, but then it gives them credibility of, well, even conservatives say such and such. But he said most of the time, like, he was a conservative who was very critical of George W. Bush's fiscal policies because, he was for tax cuts, but, thought he spent too much on war and all this. So they would quote him criticizing Bush, but anything that was actually conservative would just get ignored. And though one of the things I noticed when going through the directory of who writes for PolitiFact and Snopes and these sites, and PolitiFact in particular, it's all like college kids. It's like these 22-year-olds. And listen, if you're a 22-year-old, economics major, I actually think you're probably qualified to write fact checks in economics, but they make these kids be sort of jack of all trades. So you have a 21-year-old named Jessica with a communications degree, and she's fact checking foreign policy and economics. And I'm like, best case scenario, you can be an expert in one of these topics. There's just no way this stuff. And then also, I mean, yes, they will rely on experts, but one of the things is you need an expertise in a topic to know if what the expert is telling you is BS. If a biologist told me something, I'm just going to take their word for it. Like I have no BS meter because I don't know anything. Like when if I'm reading a fact checker on economic, it confuses the debt and the deficit, I immediately go, oh, this guy has no background in this. It's a trivial thing that a freshman would make as a mistake. So when you know a topic, you immediately know, okay, you have a general idea at least of if people know what they're talking about. But there are certain, like, if it's a fact check about like a chemistry thing, I don't have a clue, and it just has to be a scientist's word against another, and these people are not qualified to write these. And then even one step further, there are fact-checking sites that are exclusive to things like science. Like there's one called Science Feedback, and it turns out they were making up their attributions. So John Stossel, one of his videos, he does like a YouTube series, and he did one on climate change. He got fact-checked, and there was like 3 expert reviewers quoted like almost as authors in the article. So John emailed them, and they wrote back and were like, "We've never seen this video, and having watched it, we agree that you're right."
The misconception about these fact checkers is that, like we're talking about, they're experts in their field or they know what they're talking about. And it's like you said, I mean, they're not even experts in what they're fact checking you, let alone 4 or 5 different fields.
The guy that deeply triggered me, who did the fact check of the illegal immigration thing, he was a sports reporter for like 3 decades, and I think award winning, so good for him. But you sending an email to a professor at a college I haven't heard of doesn't disprove the math. And the weird thing too is whenever they fact check me, they reach out for me for supporting material, and I'm like, listen guys, respectfully, I'm not doing your job for you. Like I would rather you falsely fact check me so I can come back and expose you and make fun of you. So I'm deliberately not helping you. And that's how it goes every time I do my rebuttal. It got to the point where, because listen, I get more frustrated than I should with this, but I'm always very snarky in my response. And it once got to the point where they tried to email Dan and his wife to get me fired. And of course, they're like, what? No, we encourage this behavior.
Yeah, right.
They're like, no, I might actually get a raise out of this. It did not work. I'll tell you that.
They're like, that's what we like, Matt.
Dan was like, just so there's no miscommunication, double down. I'm like, you got it, Dan.